Hello, day 2 of Moon 2. So the apricot moon is Moon 2. The first moon is known as, literally called the first moon. The second moon is the apricot moon. So we are now really moving into like spring. So this is when all the insects are awake and start cross-pollinating the blossoms, etc. So my name's Ollie, this is Red Sun Horizons. I'm an Eastern Physiotherapy practitioner from the south of England, that's Portsmouth, Southsea, UK. My career is effectively very immersed in Taoist origin practices such as acupuncture, acupressure, and Taoist stones, teaching Dao Yin and practicing Tai Chi, etc. This is the next logical step for me anyway, so it's just to kind of look into every day of the lunar cycles. So this is still using the Lunar Tao by Deng Ming Dao as a prompt. I'm speaking quite fast today because today's quite involved and I'm trying to get these to be sort of 10 minutes or less. So yesterday was very much paying, the Taoists would pay homage to the sun god effectively. So looking at, obviously, because everything needs the sun in order to grow. Today is looking at the god of the local land. So obviously the land is the yin and the sun is the yang, and every kind of crop that is at the base of the food chain, everything else would die without it, is reliant on the sun and the land, and also rain, some other bits and pieces, obviously, nutrients. Okay, but so today is also the Spring Dragon Festival. So I'm going to read quickly an excerpt on that. So the Spring Dragon Festival, known as Chunlong Jie, or the Second Moon Second Day Festival, calls the rain dragon to lift his head and send rain. In olden times, families in northern China drew water before dawn and returned to offer sacrifice in a ceremony called attracting the dragon in the fields. They then ate noodles, symbolizing lifting the dragon's head, and shared fry cakes, which meant eating the dragon's gallbladder, symbolizing courage. Get to that in a sec. Okay, popcorn represented golden beans to attract the dragon, encourage rain, and bring plentiful crops. So courage is very much a gallbladder thing in TCM. So when we look at certain meridians, there is the gallbladder channel, which is 44 points, everything from gallbladder 1 all the way through to effectively this little toe on the foot. And gallbladder is very much so like frustration, like it is one of the things that really kind of like constant frustration, being held back, life not going where we think it should be, and all that kind of stuff is something that really affects gallbladder and creates all these tightness of ligaments and tendons. It can also create further along, it can create things like internal wind, and you get like headaches and migraines, and it can lead to lots of other things. Beyond that, I would highly suggest to anyone to never have their gallbladder removed, because it will start to affect all those kind of things as well. It's very much a Western thing again, and it is part of your immune system, so you know you're not born with any spare parts. So avoid it if at all costs, if possible. Okay, so that is the gallbladder. That's the one of the reasonings behind that. So courage. So the other part of today is the god of the local land. So every place has its own god of the local land. Tudi means local land, and Gong, so Tudi Gong. There are thousands of altars by roads and canal banks and on the floors of homes and businesses. Along with the kitchen god, he dwells with us on earth. The god is depicted as a kindly old man with a white beard, and his wife, the goddess of the local land, Tudi Po, who often appears next to him. Okay, so the history of the god of the local land, or a story from the history of the god of the local land. So this is during the time of the Song Emperor Taizu, who lived from 1368 to 1399. So he once arrived at an inn to find all the tables occupied. Seeing the image of the god of the local land on an altar table, he ordered it moved to the floor, saying to the god, "Give me your place." After the emperor departed, the innkeeper was about to restore the god of the local land to his rightful place, but the god appeared to him in a dream and said, "I dare not defy the emperor." From that day on, the god of the local land preferred to remain on the floor with no stand or table. Okay, So that's just the reasoning why the statues or epitaphs of the god of the local land would be placed on the floor and never on any kind of altar. So finally, a bit of that really is we understand that inside. So I'll read from here. Many times we all ask a new acquaintance where he or she was born because it reveals something unique and important. We talk about going back to our roots. The land exerts a powerful pull on us. It is our own personal gravity, our special home. So that kind of pilgrimage, return home sort of type thing. But obviously, yes, it is also the first influences of our life, the first doctrines of our life, that kind of thing. And for some people who had crap childhoods, they don't want to go back there. So it is very influential, regardless in any way of positive or negative, etc. So it's I know in the UK we have so many different accents, so obviously your accent is very much involved with. Accents can change, and I have spoken to people who have spent the first 20 years of their life in the UK and then gone to live in Australia for 20 years, and their accent is more in tune with Australian than it is the UK, but it really depends on. I used to have a friend who was adopted, lived in Italy for a couple of years, and then moved to the north of Scotland. Well, moved to Scotland, Glasgow, not in the north, and lived there for most of their adolescence, and then moved to the south of England, and you never had any kind of accent that you would have considered to be Italian, definitely, or Scottish, until they got drunk. So it was very much like a typical southern accent until they got drunk, and then the Scottish started coming out, or the Glaswegian started coming out. So there's a lot of influence, obviously, with the local land and everything else. So that is, we're still at about 7 minutes. So the last bit is for me to read, because there's not really much I can expand on with that as far as practices. There was a practice yesterday, which was in 2 parts by accident. So just going to read effectively what I read yesterday, because it's the one that kind of is more in fitting with the local land, but it also fitted yesterday, so I read it then. So number 39. In harmony with the Tao, the sky is clear and spacious. The earth is solid and full. All creatures flourish together, content with the way they are, endlessly repeating themselves, endlessly renewed. When man interferes with the Tao, the sky becomes filthy, the earth becomes depleted, the equilibrium crumbles, creatures become extinct. So again, it's very fitting for today. Not just the plastic crisis and all this kind of stuff, but all the crap they're spraying in the skies in the name of cloud seeding, etc., which has affected nothing other than it's a load of aluminum, or aluminium, effectively, which is also pretty causal in crossing the blood-brain barrier and causing things like dementia. So the master views the parts with compassion because he understands the whole. His constant practice is humility. He doesn't glitter like a jewel, but lets himself be shaped by the Tao, as rugged and as common as a stone. So ultimately, if you consistently live out of harmony with nature, out of harmony with the Tao, you isolate yourself, and you will either do yourself in or do both in yourself and nature. So kind of this returning to nature thing doesn't have to mean you have to get involved in Taoism or anything else. You're probably better off. That's one thing I got from reading one of the Dalai Lama's books, is that he's noticed that so many different religions have this capacity to lead back to a state of compassion. So it's, why would you not follow? It's far less conflict creating to stick with a religion that is local in that sense, or that kind of local catalyst. But ultimately, it should all be choice. So his concept would be that someone from the UK would be better off sticking with something like one of the Christian derivatives, rather than, say, learning Mahayana Buddhism, which is his practice. But ultimately, look for the concepts, look for the principles and everything. Take what you need from that and take what you want from that and run with it. But it's that is the main concept, is obviously, if you, not just what you do unto others, what you would do unto yourself, but do unto the land as you would want to be treated, because effectively you're affecting yourself in everything you do to it. Okay, that is the 10 minutes. I'm going to leave it there. I will see you tomorrow.